Oh, nice cough. You're still sick.
I'm still sick. It's fine. I will mute this in post. I wish I had a more professional setup where I had a mute button to save your ears the trouble, but
No, I don't. I'm so used to it. When my parents call me, I feel like they just like don't even understand I can hear everything they ever do.
They're holding the phone like upside down, talking to it like a walkie-talkie. It's capturing all the atmosphere around them.
It's honestly like so overwhelming. Like calling my mother is like the opposite of the Calm app. It's like if I ever want to just rile myself up into a panic attack, I call my mom.
Kris and Joanna are close friends with nothing in common. To start a weekly conversation, they ask, "Can I have a word?"
I called her the other day from the grocery store and she had me on speaker, which is crazy.
That's a nuts thing to do at a grocery store.
And all I could hear was this environment and like people being like, I do have paper or plastic. And like the crates. And she's like, and I'm like, are you eating? She's like, I'm eating some grapes. And I'm just like trying to tell her like about my life. And I can't, I'm distracted.
I've never been more thankful to have family that doesn't want to talk to me for more than 10 minutes at a time.
Oh my God. My mom is a podcast. Sometimes I call her and my sister. I'll call them and I can mute myself and I'll just let them run.
That's very nice. It's got to be like an injection of adrenaline to like enter into so much chaos on the other end.
It's an injection of something.
You're spinning up a negative into a positive, Kris.
But I love it. I love that you're trying.
I just want to make sure that everybody feels good about the things they get to do in their life. That's all.
That's such a nice thing of you to consider. I tend to not do that. So I should be more like Kris.
I don't think you're more pessimistic than I am.
I think we're pessimistic in different ways. Sometimes I talk to you and you're like, everything's going to be great. Like, what are you talking? And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. And then sometimes I call you and I'm like, oh boy.
Sometimes you catch me in a moment of reflecting on my life choices and realizing I could have had it better, but I fucked it up.
See, and that's just such a horrible way of thinking about like that is the epitome of bad thinking.
But that guy goes away, and then I'm like, it's just like we'll have another day. Just have a good day today.
Yeah, and then the next day you're like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah,
that's exactly how you say it. You say, oh, I'm fine.
I don't have any answer for why I do that other than I need to do more mental health work.
Okay, well, I do have a follow-up question to that, which is, can I have a word?
Wow. Okay, sure. Yeah. This show's called Can I Have a Word? It's great that we're asking, can I have a word? The word,
oh God.
This one's pretty relevant to us, actually. The word is translate.
Damn, okay.
It's like a very relevant word in our relationship.
It is. I mean, I think let's talk about it literally, obviously, first, which is, I feel like my brain, as they call it, bilaterally bilingual person, is constantly translating in my head sometimes. I say constantly and sometimes in the same sentence, but
I went along with it. It's fine.
I do think that I just wonder what it's like to be someone that only speaks one language. I don't know how your brain works. Where do you go when you don't know the word?
I typically know the word. If I find myself searching for a word, it's not that I have like two databases to look through. You know what I mean? It's like I only have the one. So if I'm lost on the word, it's just like something that feels like it's getting away from me. What I think I'm hearing from you is that if you lose the word, then the issue becomes, how do you figure out which place to start looking?
Yeah, I always go to the other language and then try to like backtrack. Like thankfully Spanish and English have some overlapping words. So I can sometimes find it. And when I'm speaking French, which is, I don't speak French well, but I can like, as we say in Spanish, defend myself in French. I just like say a word in Spanish.
Like defend yourself. That sounds so interesting. What does that mean?
When someone asks you if you're fluent or not in a language, in English, it's like, oh, I'm conversational, fluent, mother tongue, right? In Spanish, it's like, me puedo defender. I can defend myself.
Whoa. Like almost like you think of the language as like a weapon by which you can guard.
Or it's it's so little. I don't know. There's an army coming to your house and you grab a pan and a ladle and you're like, I can fend them off for a little bit. That's how much I speak French. Do you know what I mean? I will eventually die, but it might take longer.
I can stall him in a chase scene, and that's it.
Exactly. So, but it is a way of communicating that. I am trying to learn Italian in order to get my Italian passport, which I find so ironic. My last name is Houseman. My grandfather is German, even though he doesn't have a German passport because he was a Jew. And so they were like, get out of here.
Right.
Burned all his papers. It just makes sense that Germany would be like, hey, I'm so sorry about that. Like, here's your passport. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I were Germany, I'd be like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Like,
well, you just, no questions asked. Here it is for you.
Here it is. Like, your last name's Houseman. There's a picture of my grandpa at like this memorial. I mean, I know it's my grandpa. I don't think it's obvious that this 98-year-old man is that 6-year-old in the picture of like this memorial that they put up in his hometown. But I'm like kind of shocked. I'm like, this is crazy. And then now I'm getting my Italian passport, or like I'm in the process of trying to get it. And, you know, this goes into the whole conversation of what's going to happen in the States when this conversation of whether or not birthright is going to be, I don't think it's going to be taken away. It's in the Constitution, but whether or not it's going to be removed.
Right. It's the current, like, it's as of this week, it's the current hot topic.
Yeah. But I can get an Italian passport if I pass a fluency test in Italian.
So that was what I was getting ready to ask. You don't have any claim to Italy. You just want the passport?
My husband is Italian.
Oh, right.
By blood, because his dad is Italian. His last name is white bread in Italian. His last name is fucking pane bianco, okay? Like, literally the most Italian last name you could ever imagine. So, like, I feel like they should just give it to me.
Yeah, you're like, you want it. Every time a passport comes up, you want it the easiest way possible.
Just literally just give it to me. Like, what's the big deal?
It's just a book with stamps.
I just find it funny that some countries are like, your mom was here when she pushed you out. Like, here's a passport. Then there's other countries that are like, no, you literally got to speak our language to a level that is insane. And then you also have to pass all of these little tests. And I'm like, can we all find a consistent way of, like, this is too confusing for me.
This is 2 times now already in this conversation where you're bringing up the ways in which what you have to consider have so many more options than what I have. It's like, what word am I thinking? I don't know. I have a lot of languages to look at.
Oh my God.
What, like, what documents from the world do I need? You have a million options for this stuff. Mine is always like, well, there's like the county I was born in. I guess I just call them up and get anything I needed. I don't have access to anything else. It's so interesting.
I mean, it's interesting because I have a Venezuelan passport that is I was going to say absolutely and utterly in the same sentence, and I said absurdly.
Absurdly?
Absurdly. Absolutely and utterly useless.
Yeah, you got nothing. You might as well just frame that for fun.
I can get a Colombian passport tomorrow through marriage.
Too.
Useless, though. Okay, I don't need a visa for Brazil. Okay, great, whatever. Like,
but the fun is the collecting, Joanna.
It is so true.
It's not like you're like doing an investment. You know, it's like, you know, when my stepmom wanted to collect spoons, it was just for her own joy.
That's so true. You know.
And for you, it's passports.
For me, it's passports.
Yeah. So Venezuelan, Colombian. United States.
I'm not going to get the Colombian. I have the Venezuelan because my mom forced me to renew my Venezuelan passport, even though I didn't see the point. At this point in our history.
Just keeping it in the family at this point.
I have the U.S. passport. I got it when I was 22. I did all the paperwork. So while you were just born with it, I had to do the paperwork. I had to show up to several appointments. I had to pass a language test. I had to pass the citizenship test. I had to show up to I became an American.
Yeah, you did all the grunt work.
It was hard.
Yeah, totally.
And then I was born in England, and if I go back and live in England for a certain amount of time, I could potentially apply for it. But Margaret Thatcher changed the law in 1986, which is what Donald Trump wants to do, and made the law sanguine, making it that your parents need to be English or from the UK, from the UK to have a UK passport. You cannot be born in the UK and be from the UK.
Wow.
So, and that's very European.
Okay.
Because
there's a lot of everyone's on a bit of a high horse in European countries.
And
that's enough of a generalization.
Well, it's like my Spanish friends are like, sí, tío, I've been here for, my family's been here for 40 generations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just think it's so cocky for America to be like, yeah, you have to be born here. It's like, bro, we've been around for no time.
No time at all. Just a blink on the radar.
A little blink.
Okay, so what are you going to do with all these passports?
Become an agent.
Oh, we didn't talk about that part, which is you have a different identity on each one. I see.
No, it's my same identity.
I would love it. I would love it if you were doing character bits on passports.
Imagine if my name was something like Maria Garcia, and I had all of these passports legitimately, but Maria Garcia is such a common name that it's basically, there's only 2 other Joanna Housemans. One of them is someone pretending to be me and has a really controversial picture on their Facebook profile that looks a little pornographic.
Oh.
And then the other one is a really nice New Zealand woman, I think.
And rare stock. There's a million Kris Knights.
With 2 Ks?
Yes, there are ones with 2 Ks. There was a Canadian painter. And then I remember this because my father called me about this. In college, my dad, this was like right when you were like discovering Google, and my dad realized you could Google things. And he Googled my name and found a male porn star named Christopher Knight with my name. And he called me to ask me how I was making money at school.
Oh my God. I love that his like, he jumped to like, Chris must be.
I named him so unique. Christopher Michael Knight. Surely there's not another one.
Wow. Have you ever gotten in touch with Cristobal Mike, the other?
No, I've never reached out. What do we have to talk about?
I mean, your name.
One.
That's true. That's true.
Nothing else. I might need a little bit of context here. When we're taught language at schools, we are often given like a language equivalent name.
That's so stupid.
I'm about to say, that's not actually like how you would go. If I was to go to like Mexico, I wouldn't lead with my Spanish translated name. I would just say my name.
I don't know where this came from. I think it was just a quirky teacher in some school in like Illinois and was like, you know what? You're not Patricia. Actually, that's just Patty. That's Patricia. Actually, I chose one name that's, you're not John, you're Juan. It's like, no, you can be John.
I took French in high school for a little bit, and we just got to pick brand new names.
Okay, see, that's more fun.
I was not Chris, or I was Sebastian.
You were Sebastian? It's just a name in English, too.
I know, but it's French in nature.
Do you think that they do it so that you almost have like an alter ego the same way that drag queens have an alter ego and they feel more confident? So it's like, oh, I'm going to go into French class and I can sound like an idiot because it's not me, it's Sebastian.
Yeah. This is prototype for like what everybody has, why they're allowing their kids to play D&D now. It's like you're allowing to access character work.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to make like a silly voice and my accent can be mildly offensive because I'm just learning here and I think I'm supposed to put stank on these syllables to get the word out.
Yeah, it's not you, it's Sebastian.
Sebastian's a little rascal.
I think about those UN translators more often than not.
Tell me more.
Like, can you imagine? Your job is, you can't show up hungover to your job.
No, you really have to be on and sharp.
You can't like fuck that shit up. You are listening to world leaders discuss like war, famine, and peace accords. And you have to translate in real time. Like, what if you panic and you don't remember the word?
Well, it's like remembering the word, and then also so many languages, you have to shift context in order to get a relevant translation. So in my head, that would be very, very difficult. Again, I've never been able to retain a language that I learned. So my brain maybe thinks all of this is hard, but
I had trouble learning French. Like I took French for so long and I'm not fluent in French. Like I'm not good at languages.
Well, you have the 2. You're learning Italian now.
È vero, pero no è vero perché io parlo l'espagnol con accento italiano.
But that's a very close one to Spanish.
It's so close. I'm cheating.
Yeah, you just have a cheat code.
I have the rosebud code on The Sims.
Well, wait, that's the one nerd thing I don't have a cultural touchstone to.
The Sims.
I never played The Sims.
Yeah, you were too busy smoking oregano.
All right. We don't need that to be our runner here. I made one choice in middle school.
Literally never forget. Oh my God, we said at the same time. You see, when you're translating live, you can't
You can't pause. You can't have it. Well, you can sort of pause. Whenever you see like you ever turn on closed captions on a broadcast, you can see that they're a little delayed on the live. They're allowed a little bit of grace.
Okay, wait. I wanna speak in Spanish, and I want you to live. I'll pause, and I want you to pretend live translate what I'm saying.
I'll say this. When we worked together at Flamma, I got to a place where I could actually understand what was being said without knowing the language.
I don't know if I believe that, but okay, we'll pretend.
You remember you would give direction to people, and I would be like, yeah, and then, as if like I had understood anything. And it was,
That's true.
It got somewhat better. Anyway, let's try this.
Okay. Bueno, acá estoy. La verdad es que yo creo que este carajo no tiene la menor idea de lo que estoy diciendo, pero vamos a darle un chance.
Good morning. I have an interesting product to promote for you. I heard bueno and I heard promo.
Ok. La verdad es que está empezando bastante mal este tipo, pero vamos a darle un chance y voy a decir algo raro como fabuloso, a ver si él le parece esa palabra interesante.
There's many things that you can clean your bathroom with. One of them is fabuloso, but I have a better product for you that I'm going to speak about now.
A veces yo me pongo a pensar y dije, este tipo pasó años conmigo con puros latinos en una oficina y no aprendió un coño de la madre. ¿Me puedes explicar qué pasó ahí? O sea, no entiendo. De pana que no entiendo, pues.
Have you ever had a stain in the bathtub that's so hard and you try to clean it out and you bring your friend in to look at it and say, do they know? You bring your mother in to find out, do they know? And none of them know how?
You were so off. None of what you said was remotely close.
Look, the elephant in the room is I could have learned Spanish.
That's exactly what I said.
Is that what you said?
I can't believe this guy didn't learn Spanish. He has no idea what I'm saying, pretty much is what I said. That's perfect.
Language has always been very hard for me. I can't remember if I have told you this plainly, but I flunked out of like 4 foreign languages in college.
What languages?
I had a Bachelor of Arts, and part of the requirement in my school was that we had to do 4 years of a foreign language.
That's
and I
dumb.
spent 2 years trying to get any one of them. And it just like, I failed every one. I failed Spanish. I failed French. I took Latin for some reason, thinking I would like scapegoat out of not having to speak things. And then I took a Japanese class, and I also just despite Japanese being the one I have the most exposure to in my like lifetime, I couldn't parse it enough to pass a class.
I love that you were like, okay, the equivalent is you were like, oh, God, I can't hike this mountain. Let me try this other slightly more difficult mountain. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's not working. Let me just try this bizarre tundra Latin and see if that. And then you're like, let's do Everest. I feel like Everest is where I'm gonna.
Well, okay, but to be fair, Japanese. If there was any one that I was going to get well, it would be Japanese, because I had been a foreign exchange student before this point. My issue was always just like, once I was in school, I was very focused on like, what is the stuff that I actually need to learn in order to like be better at what I want to do in life. I was not just thirsty for academia and like was taking in all of my classwork. And so it just meant that I was probably not giving it the energy I needed to. And also I fucking suck at it. I suck.
I get it. I was able to scapegoat out of taking foreign language classes in college because I was just bilingual.
Yeah, you tested out, right?
I tested out, and I'm so grateful because I hated language classes. I hated them. I'm like, je suis tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. Great. I know exactly how to conjugate these verbs. I cannot now speak them. I can't tell you who I am.
So from your perspective, it feels like what you get taught in class is still so scripted that it's not actually useful.
No, I think language classes should be, all right, everyone, every single week, we're going to go to a different situation and you're just going to have to defend yourself.
Oh,
in the language. You got to go to a grocery store and you got to ask for Pepto-Bismol and you got to explain your symptoms, and that's how you're going to find out how to say the word stomach, esophagus, illness, doctor. You're going to say, and then the next week, it's like you're going to fake break up with someone in the other language.
What you are pitching is that a foreign language classroom becomes like a fire safety village where everybody role plays what to do in emergency scenarios and have to get out of it on their own means.
And if you speak the other language, like your language, you go down a grade point.
Oh, I thought it was going to be something more physical, like you would be like tackled or something.
You'd be tackled.
Just a grade point. I'd take a C.
Yeah, but then that means you can only two times you can only speak in English.
You're not using your pluses and your minuses.
No.
Wow, brutal teacher.
It's like my grandpa.
Dr. Hausman's brutal.
I'm so actually I am on Rate My Professor.
Wait. Nope, sorry. You're on Rate My Professor?
I think I am, or I did teach 2 semesters at a grad school. I don't know if I'm on Rate My Professor, but I was on a student like review site. I don't know if it was CUNY specific.
But you went out of your way to look at the reviews.
No, someone told me. I never read it.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think I'm on Rate My Professor. I think I'm on something else.
It's just funny to imagine you could never help yourself but to read YouTube comments early on, but you were able to put enough restraint to not read your professor reviews.
Now I don't even look at any comments anymore.
No, it's good for your mental health. Just don't be on social media at all in general.
I mean, my livelihood depends on it, but other than that, I'm not on it. So my grandpa was in a rehab for a couple weeks because he broke his hip, and there was a full Mini Cooper in his little rehab room.
Yeah.
There was a full grocery store in the little rehab room.
Oh, like these models of situations that you have to be physical in.
And I was like, this is what learning language should be. I should be placed into forced situations where my brain has to be on has to function in defenderte mode.
I love this idea because for me, like, I spent a summer living in Japan and picked up what I would consider more or less like a pidgin of like language that I could speak in order to like communicate with my host family and students that I was around. And that entirely came from being immersed and having no other choice.
No, that's it. I think that's it. That's the only way of learning languages. So if I have to learn Italian in order to get this fucking passport, I guess I'm just going to have to live, laugh, love my way to Italy.
Oh, darn. I have to go take a vacation of a lifetime.
And just be Italian.
You would do it very easily. I feel like, Italian's cheating because it's so close to Spanish. What is a language you are intimidated to try to learn?
Oh, fucking German? Are you kidding me,
really?
bro? Oh my God. I hear German and I'm like, how does that make a word?
Oh, because of just like the length and the sounds.
It is structurally so different from any language, like English, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese from Portugal, even though it's more difficult to understand, I think like follows similar structure. Bro, German and like Greek.
Right.
It's just, there's nothing that, I mean, the funny thing about Germans is that they do have words that they sound like what they are. Like, I think it's like anti-baby-pillen is like, is birth control.
Yeah, that's utilitarian. It lets you know straight to the point. We just comboed some noises that we know mean certain elements, and now you pieced it together.
But there's nothing more humbling. Like, I think I'm a relatively smart person. I feel like I can figure out situations. I feel like I have a personality that can maybe like help me in certain instances, like out of a pickle or to get what I need. When I'm in a place where I'm bad at the language, I'm like, oh my fucking God, I'm so dumb. Like, and I'm like, I'm so not dumb in real life, but these people are experiencing me in a way that is not me because I'm so limited.
Now, this is the part I can give you plenty of experience on, is this part, which is you do feel dumb because in that moment you realize, oh, I'm the one that is not prepared to engage with this space that everybody else exists in.
Yes.
And it's just like, oh, I could have done more, or I need to do more. You really put the responsibility on yourself in a way that, like, in the third person, you could look at it and be like, oh, it's just a situation you're in. Let's just all wing it and laugh about it later. But you really do feel it. You feel dumb, and you feel responsible.
I was trying on a pair of shoes in Paris. I was like, oh, neuf, like, size 9. And then I was like, neuf, and I was like, half, midi, and they were like, they didn't understand. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make a joke right now. I'm going to make like a Fellini. and I was like, they don't understand what I'm saying. And then I kept on fucking it up more. And it just got to a point where I realized that the person these people were perceiving was like, this person is not what I pride myself in. Like, this person is a mess. I was a mess.
Well, and it's interesting to talk about like wanting to hit a joke in that moment, because it's like, for people who tell jokes, it's a deflective way of like, you know, releasing stress in a situation. Like, you can just laugh it off. And if you're even like disarmed to have that on your side, it's very isolating.
I do not have a single conversation in my life where I don't say a joke. Like, it's just the way I go about the world, and I can't do it when I'm in these situations. I feel so boring and not like myself. And then I'm like, oh my God, so many immigrants arrive to the States not speaking the language, and they have to be a tampered version of themselves.
Yeah. Well, not even, certainly tamped down, but they don't even have the ability to hold themselves back. They are held back. It like you can feel that like sort of force. So there's constantly that feeling we're talking about, I'm sure is felt in many different ways and different emotions. That feeling of like, I am shackled right now and I can't break out of it because of fucking words.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah.
Like that.
Do you know how to say that one?
I can barely say it in English.
My hope is that if I fall in a foreign language and I hurt myself, at least everybody will understand I'm in trouble when I shout fuck as loud as I can.
Fuck. Well, you know what's interesting is, I think I've said this before, but I felt it really intensely this past vacation. Because in English, I feel just comfortable no matter where I'm at, because it's such a neutral, like I speak so neutral. And there's this very funny, I'll send it to you. There's this very funny video that I'm obsessed with online where it's Benicio del Toro. It's an interview he's doing in English. And he's like, well, you know, I think that this film is a departure of what I'm used to and accustomed to do. And then it cuts to Spanish. He's like, lo que pasa es que mi mamá estaba ahí en el Puerto Rico y bueno, yo le dije, pacata. Like, it was like too complete. I'm like, this man, like, look at this cultured man.
Oh yeah.
And then this guy sounds like he is wasted. And I'm like, that is fully me. That's how I feel 100%. In the last December break in Venezuelan Spanish, I obviously feel very comfortable, and I speak with Venezuelans, like not thinking about I feel like fully comfortable, immersed. Great. Then I went to Mexico. Mm-hmm. So I went from my family's house then to Mexico. And yes, of course I can communicate and talk and I'm fully fluent, but there's like a part of my personality that is tampered down.
Because
the words I use are not the same. My sense of humor, the words that might be a little bit more offensive in Mexican Spanish than in Venezuelan Spanish, or like the way that I drop my S's might be perceived as a different way that it's perceived at, you know.
Right.
So it subconsciously puts a limitation in my head, and I'm not like full Joanna in Spanish.
Well, you know, it doesn't sound like you get to be fully present because you have to reserve some bandwidth to like make sure you're like presenting well to everybody else, but it makes you have to like police yourself a little bit. Yeah,
and like simple transactions like grocery store, this, that, like, yeah, of course I can say it. But like a deep conversation at dinner, I found myself switching to English with people that speak Spanish because I'm like, I don't want to have to translate in Spanish to Spanish in my head.
Yeah, right. Oh boy, that all sounds very taxing to me.
It's taxing and it makes me weirdly emotional.
Oh.
Like I cried one night.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not, obviously people cry. I just meant that like to be a person who's so aware of it to sound like it still impacts you. That's interesting.
Well, I cried because like a person who is a friend of mine was poking fun at the way I was speaking Spanish in a way that was like not at all mean.
Yeah.
But it had been building, and I had been like contemplating this, and like I've been thinking about like, you know, the diaspora and how I haven't been back to Venezuela in so long, and like if I have kids, like will they speak like me? Will they speak?
Yeah.
And I started getting like crazy emotional. I felt like a little character in a movie that was like that got like too much backstory placed in a very trivial situation. I was like, and he was like poking fun, and I started crying, and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm just like, I realize I'm weirdly emotional about this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the way that I fully feel comfortable in Spanish, the world where I can feel comfortable in is not a world I can access easily.
Yeah. It sounds like to me that part of this is about an attack on identity. And sort of like invalidating identity a little bit.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
And it makes me realize that like for someone to fully know your identity requires them to be able to like speak both and like see you through like the bobbing and weaving of both.
But Kris, let me place this into your head because this is also important. I speak a Spanish from a country, from a city, and then from a time.
Right.
Because I haven't
had access to that place in that long.
So the way that I speak it is like, it's a time. It's a time I was there, and then a time that and I learned a lot from my parents because I grew up a lot of the time outside of Venezuela, just hearing my parents talk. And so, my Spanish is uniquely time sensitive, location sensitive, age sensitive, and for a country that has had so much instability, it is like a little island. every Venezuelan knows, like, Mexicans were like, oh, are you from Venezuela? I can tell you're from Venezuela,
right.
obviously.
Right.
But, like, even the way I speak Spanish is very specific to me. And the way I speak English is the least specific English in the world. It's just like, I took that New York Times test that tries to guess where you're from. And it was like,
there is one?
Yeah, you should take it.
Well, I'll be interested if it works on me.
I think you'd be surprised. I got Fresno, California.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, and then like New York. I don't know why, I don't know how. And then I feel like if the equivalent existed in Spanish, it would probably be like, yeah, a Venezuelan.
Venezuela circa 1991.
Yeah, 1991. It's like now that I'm doing a lot of voiceover work in Spanish, I'm like, I have to put on a different hat.
You have to kind of come up with what is the accent and way you present that like is most accessible to everyone.
But while keeping my accent.
Oh, interesting. Like not to strip yourself of your personality because your personality is what sold.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I am Venezuelan. So it's like, speak Venezuelan, but also pronounce the S's.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, that is psychotic.
Yeah, that's a very tough ask.
But I've learned how to do it. Like, I've learned how to pronounce the S's and still have the intonation. But it's been a process. So, like, my Spanish is so pregnant with identity, and my English is so filled with my personality.
That's a very unique split up. In my mind, it feels like a very unique split up that I wouldn't say even other people that I know that are bilingual have that depth of mapping one to the other for them.
I'm like, oh my God, English is where I'm like the quickest. It can be very sarcastic. It can be very dark. You can say something so awkward and random and it hits. And then in Spanish, I'm like, it is fully the me that I had no choice in.
Here's a question for you. You get old and senile. Which language do you think you're going to default to?
Holy shit. I am so scared.
Because what I'm thinking about with that is that, like, you know, there's obviously, like, people that end up having, like, mental deterioration as they get older sort of, like, revert back to points in time, or they end up kind of, like, locked out of all of themselves, and I'm just fascinated. Which one do you think survives?
I'm so scared. If it's, like, what I was speaking at 5 years old, there's, like, videos of me speaking Spanish in 5 and then singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star like this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Like, I spoke zero English.
Right.
Zero English. Zero. Yeah. None in that cute little curly hair head of mine. I think if it's senile, I think it'll revert to Spanish and, like, the most simplistic, non-complex Spanish.
Either way, I'll probably be so old and senile as well, I won't be able to understand what you're saying.
That's so sweet. Oh my God, what if we're friends when we're senile and we're just like, who the fuck is this guy? And our kids are like, don't you remember your friend? And we're like, fucking no.
No. Get that bitch out of here. I don't know why I got that kind of old man. I think just all old white men turn into that.
Ay, esa parece Santa Claus. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to say, like, that guy looks like Santa Claus. I'm going to say this, and people think I'm crazy.
Please.
I am like, I don't know why people think retirement hose-ups are sad. Like, I think I would thrive.
You're a person who wants to be amongst people, so retirement community would make a lot of sense for you.
I mean, I want a fancy one. I'm already saving up. But I know which one I want to go to. There's one on the Upper East Side that I will never be able to afford, but I'm pretending that I can because I'm saving up starting now. And I'm like, I have, like, a party every day. I have, like, not roommates, but, like a floor mates that are otherwise known as neighbors. Yeah. I'm like, I think that's where I would thrive. But then I understand that
it's not for everybody.
It's not for everyone. Also, you can't control who is there. And there totally might be some, like, where my grandma used to be, there was some nasty older people that were mean.
Totally. My grandmother lives in an assisted living facility, but it's like she has an apartment and she lives in an apartment community of everybody that's like kind of the same age. Yeah. And she doesn't really leave much. And I always say, Grandma, why don't you go out and socialize? She's like, all they ever talk about is dying.
I feel like you would love that. I feel like that's one of you. That's you. That would be you when you're like 92.
Or I'm just like, I don't want to talk to these people. They're just talking about dying and playing silly little games. I'll just come in here, watch my shows. But it is still that thing of like she has a neighbor that can like check in on her if there's ever like a problem. You know, I think the communal aspect is really beneficial for a lot of people. But I think some people also just get scared of like being left someplace to rot and sort of be forgotten.
That's very American. There's very little concepts of multi-generational homes in this country.
Oh, yeah.
While multi-generational homes culturally in Italy and Latin America, it's like so normal.
No, we get rid of, once anything gets old, we get scared of it and toss it away.
Even when your kid turns 18, it's like, get the fuck out of here. And
I think that's going to change, unfortunately.
That's so weird. And my mom was like, I know, don't leave. Don't go to college.
Really?
Yeah, my mom was like, stay, live with me.
My parents couldn't wait to get me out.
Really? I don't get that.
Well, first of all, it was like there was 5 kids plus 2 adults in a 3-bedroom ranch house. So we were
then I get it.
There was a certain like, oh, we get some free space back.
No, I get it. That makes sense.
And also, like, I don't know if this speaks culturally, but it was certainly my perspective. Like, I was itching to like be my own person, especially living in an environment where I was so like confined with other people. It's nice to be like have my own space, stretch my own wings.
Oh, I think for the kid, it makes all the sense in the world. You're 18 and you're like, I want my own room that I split with a stranger, and then I take a shower caddy to shower, and that's independence. Like, I get it, but like,
I'm ready for a life of flip-flops in my bathroom.
God, I can't believe it. I remember sorry, I know that we're like running out of time.
Whatever. Also, this isn't translate anymore.
This is not translate, but I'll never forget. I was 18. It was like my first week of college, and I was an idiot, obviously, because I had never lived by myself. I had gone to a party and I woke up with the worst hangover and thirst of my life. And I had no water or drinks in my dorm room.
Because you hadn't thought ahead.
And there's no kitchen and and I remember like, I don't know, like Moses in the fucking desert, just walking in my dorm, like trying to find water and and then I just went into the shower and opened my mouth. I was like, and I came from Venezuela, so I'm like, I'm definitely gonna get amoebas. Like, this is gonna destroy my intestines, but it's worth it. I don't give a fuck.
Just standing under there, like hoping, like it's like hot water too. You didn't even turn it to the right temp.
No, just like chugging it. I actually don't even think I took off all my clothes. I was just like,
you were in a moment of desperation. We all do desperate things in college.
And we really did. Looking back, I'm like, thank God that's over. But also, wouldn't mind doing it again.
Oh, God. I would love to have access to my entire day to just be what my own, like, oh, darn, I have to go to a class for a couple of hours, and then the rest of it is my own to use.
It's kind of insane that we spend that much money for college.
And then we fucking blew it away on drinking when I could have, like, been reading good books.
I know. I mean, I
wish I had college now.
I think that's called grad school.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that. Anytime I've ever seen somebody as an adult go, like, I'm thinking about grad school, what I want to tell them is, no, you're thinking about a new career.
When my husband did grad school, it really felt, as an outsider, every time I'd go, I'd be like, this is the weirdest. Like, I don't think these people realize how weird they're being.
Yeah.
Because it's like 30-year-olds who are married or like in serious relationships or single, partying like their bodies aren't fucking deteriorating already.
They've transported themselves back to a mindset and then just are going whole hog. And it's like, I don't know that this exactly translates with your real life right now.
It doesn't translate. Like, I'm looking at you now, taking shots out of the belly button of a random woman at a club. Like, you're 31, you're married, you already have a 401k. This is every Friday, baby. This is weird.
And also, you've probably Googled what's inside a belly button anymore.
I have.
Yeah, don't do that.
You know, we translate language. We translate, I think, life experiences to others. But I think ultimately our brains are constantly, even if it's not language, our brains are constantly translating things.
Constantly taking something in and trying to like parse it into terms that you need to understand in order to get through it.
Isn't it weird that I'm like, I'm thinking something right now? I'm thinking about this blanket I put over my screen so that it wouldn't bounce sound back to the mic. Like, I'm like, oh, that's not blue. That's like a very light sky blue. I'm translating those thoughts into language, but I'm not conscious of it. It's
you're about to have a thought spiral where you put yourself in, and it's just going to continually go into each other's wormholes.
I'm scaring myself right now.
Yeah, stop thinking.
Yeah,
Just
this
stop
isn't
thinking.
the weed episode. What am I doing?
Bring this one back when you go contemplating death is the word.
That's actually horrifying. Yeah.
I'll make sure to not allow the randomizer to give us that.
Please. I never want to have a conversation about death with you, ever.
Because I will try to perk you up or because I will be too defeatist?
I think you'll be like, yeah, man, we're all dying. And I'm like, please, no.
All right. Well, I'll note it for later.
Okay, great. Maybe we should die this episode.